Hello team, this is just going to be a little short video and it's going to be discussing how we can use a basic big bath towel for equipment. Now during COVID, as we were aware, everything kind of went online, and whether you were a yoga teacher or a yoga student, everything sort of had to change in the way things were done with the yoga world. Especially if you're somebody that was new to yoga and never bought yoga equipment. Obviously I have a lot, and when you go to classes you're often provided with blocks and things, or the teacher encourages you to buy your own. But if you're somebody that's teaching online, or you're actually watching a class online and you just don't have any equipment but you want something to help you, this is going to be a great help for that. So basically it's just a big towel that's rolled up very tightly. You can even wrap things around it, straps around it to make it a lot tighter so it doesn't come loose. But the first thing we can do with it, let's get straight into it, is we can pop our bottom onto it. What I quite like about this is because normally we'd do that on blocks to make sure our pelvis is in the right position, our vertebrae is stacked, and we can kind of bring the weight slightly forward and let our knees go lower than our hips. Sometimes on the blocks, if you're moving around, you can actually kind of fall off the blocks because they're not very malleable, whereas obviously the towel is, and it's got a little bit more surface area. Also, if you've got problems with your hips or are a bit uncomfortable, because it is a bit more malleable, we can let the hips drop down into it and it feels quite comfortable. So that's the first great thing you can do with it. Second thing you can do with it is you can actually use it underneath your knees. So, and you can actually double this up and put another towel around it to make it bigger. So if you want more of a lift, you can do that. But it's just going, if you're a beginner and you have tight hamstrings, tight backs of the knees, or you're just waking up in the morning and you feel tired and you aren't quite ready to sort of relax the backs of the knees, just going to give you that extra lift and take the pressure off the back of the knees. So you can be quite passive, and you're not having to force yourself to get down, which you shouldn't be forcing anyway, but you just relax and you just let those knees sit quite comfortably in the back of that towel, which is nice. We can also bring ourselves, I think a lot of the time equipment can be used for passive or active movements, but with a lot of things to do with the bolster, because it is a soft piece of equipment, it's going to be great for passive movements. So when you come into an upward dog movement, obviously normally our shoulders will be active, your hips will be down, you'll be lifting your weight off. But if you're somebody that needs that little bit of rest, or you want to come down, or you're usually in a lower position and you want to practice coming up, just going to let your hips sink down and soften your hips against what's underneath them, because if they're on the ground it's uncomfortable, or if they're floating, it's just going to give you that support. It takes the pressure off your shoulders, and it takes the pressure off your lower back, so it's a lot more passive, a passive move rather than having to be very active and holding your neck up and your shoulders. It's just quite nice and relaxing for the hips. And in this position you can sort of clench the bum cheeks together, and that will take the pressure off the back as well, and push your hips into the ground if you want to further this, if you want to increase your ability within it. We can take this into a pigeon pose. So you could pop that underneath and all the way through the body, so it's kind of the opposite hip is sitting on it as well. So we can sink ourselves down and we can relax the hip there. Or if we feel uncomfortable having it all the way through the body, we can just slide it underneath the back of the bum on one side. And again, because it's quite soft, it's quite malleable, you can move, you can rotate on it, and you're not going to fall off it. It's not going to cause you any unnecessary harm. We can also, I'm not just saying that, a lot of people have tight hips, but I tend to work with men that have, athletic ability, and they tend to do a lot of weightlifting, so their knees are very tight. So often you can use a bolster or a towel, or even a block if you're in a classroom, to pop underneath the bum here to stop having to put too much pressure down through the heels. And that's the same within child's pose, because in child's pose we might not be able to get our bum down, but we could just pop something underneath there. But we can also pop it a little bit further up towards the knees. And I'm sorry if my head goes off view from the camera here, but we can feel that weight down there. There is a little bit of pressure in the backs of the calves here, but it'll take a lot of pressure off the front of the knees for some people, which is quite nice. We can pop it in between our legs, the cat-cow. So when we come back through, when we round through, we can squeeze the thighs together. It's going to activate the inner thighs and going to strengthen the hips there. And then as we take it back the other way, we're going to try and not let it drop. So again, there's an activity there. We can take that one step further with it being in between our legs. And this is great for postpartum. I'm not saying that it doesn't help with all core exercises, but if you're somebody that's just had a baby and you're ready to sort of bring your core back in, so to speak, make it more active, with your pelvis tilted, we're going to contract and bring those muscles down as though they're going through to the ground, activating your pelvic floor, putting the bolster in between your knees. As you're squeezing here and your pelvis is slightly tilted, pushing the knees together, activating the thighs, which comes up obviously into the hips and into the core. Counting, you can do that for a count of 5 and then release and do that 3 times. That's a nice little movement. We can continue the theme of being on our back by bringing underneath the back. So that's quite intense. So some people are going to find that quite difficult, but the beauty with the towel is it's adjustable. So we can actually unroll it a little bit and have it flatter underneath the back. You don't have to have it as such intensity. And it's just going to train to open up the front of the body and relax the back muscles there, which is nice. And you can't always do with a block because they're very stiff, or sometimes bolsters, they might be a bit heavy, a bit high. I mean, I do like a bolster, I've got bolsters there, but sometimes it's quite nice to be able to unravel it with the towel underneath. And then we can turn it the other way. We can let our neck drop nice in a comfortable position. We can open up the front of our body, relax the shoulders, and obviously do what you feel you need to with your arms. But because of this, because it's malleable, because it's soft, we can relax the shoulders into it. We don't feel like something pressing in it that's uncomfortable. We don't feel like we're having to hold ourselves in a position because we can't let go and relax on it. So that's really nice. And the final thing, well, not final thing, final yoga move we can do with this is pop it underneath our head. Now, our neck optimally and naturally should be in a curved position. It helps the head sort of bounce and spring around on top of our heads. It stops our weight from being distributed wrongly within the rest of our frame. But what tends to happen is we're looking forward at computers, at phones. People tend to have what we call military neck, where it's already stiff and it's very tight and there's no flexibility in the neck, which can cause other problems down the body. We might have whiplash and things like this. So just to lie in this position when we're in a relaxation, or even if you're just at home and you're not doing any yoga, it's just going to give that neck that nice, soft, gentle way of putting it back to its optimal position. And if you've got a tight neck or problems with your neck, you might have problems with your breathing, you might have loose feelings in your fingers, it might affect your eyesight, your swallowing, things like that. So just to maintain this neck shape is really, really healthy. Just sort of one more thing you can use it for. You could actually unfold it, pop it underneath your knees, and then you've got your nice and relaxed position, so you're resting your knees through it. And I'm not a big fan of using towels as mats, because I think, especially if you're on a slippy floor, if you go into a down dog or you're into a warrior, your foot can slip around. But what your towel is useful for is when you're doing lower mat work, you haven't got a mat, or you're outside, or you want to put protection on your mat, you can just roll the towel out and you've got that protection and that softness underneath your body. As you can see, it's just one big towel that I've just rolled up. And it always surprises me how my friends' towels are always so much softer than mine. Mine are really scratchy when I wash them, so I don't know what the difference is in washing powder, but maybe you know yourself. But there we go, nice, tight, really straight and easy to carry around. And once you've used it for yoga, you can use it to have a shower. So anyway, give it a go and see what you think. Thank you.